Morning, everyone. We'll call this June 9th, 2025 meeting of the Beaumont Town Council to order. At this time, everybody take a look at your devices, make sure they're silent. Our last two meetings, we had interruptions. Sure, water. All right, we do have a quorum present. Everyone is here. We also have Mid-East representative here, as well as Nancy from the graphic. So we can move on to our consent agenda items at this time. On the consent agenda, we have the approval of the May 12th minutes, approval of the May finance report, and appointment as Mary Cascone as our tax collector from Nash County. Prior tax collector retired last year, so.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda approved. Sheila, did we have any public comment?
No, sir.
Edward, did we have a fire report?
No, we do not. I did
Jaskin?
talk with the chief, that, all the trucks are up and running and up in par, and they got a full staff of all, workers now, so.
Good. Do they want us to keep, the sign advertising for them, or are they good now, or did they say?
If we're willing to, yeah.
I don't see a reason why not, but. All right, other council reports, Mr. Jackson is up for audit. But do any other members have any reports?
Just that the COG met and we will be meeting again in June we'll be back at the Brown Auditorium.
Any correspondence, Sheila?
No.
Mr. Mayor, before you move on, I did want to mention the, gentleman did get the flagpoles and brackets to us. So, that has been taken care of. Did he leave a bill or anything, Sheila?
No, sir, I haven't seen him.
I didn't see anything in the box either,
Okay.
but we also have a few extras, so that's good. All right.
Did he drop him off here?
Yeah, he dropped them at the back door.
Did you go? Oh, okay. I remember seeing him, that's why I was asking.
We got 'em. So, first item on our new business is, Mid-East Commission. Everyone had their opportunity to, look over things, I hope, and I hope some of you have notes. We only had one person offer recommendations off the planning board, so, apparently it's gonna fall to us to do it, because they've chosen not to be part of the process. So, I'll turn it over to them then.
All right. And just to kind of recap where we were, the last time that we came in, we kind of just discussed a whole bunch of random things in the ordinances. And I went through the process as far as how we have been doing these draft guides and then the model template that we've already had through other funding. Currently, we're wrapping up on yours. Probably be having the map to you next week, and then the map will probably be to you this week, and then the ordinance itself, I've got a few clarifying questions, and we're good to go ahead and send over the draft next week for y'all to go ahead and read at your own time, rather than me having to go through the whole thing with y'all. I'm sure y'all wouldn't wanna have a 4-hour meeting, so, but anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and jump right into a few of the questions that I've still got. Some of these we did go over last time, but I'm not exactly sure if I know exactly what we were trying to add or change. One, just right off the bat, I wrote something down about shipping containers. Was that anything that comes to mind about that, or I think it might be like nuisance or code enforcement related?
The planning board had discussed, because we had started preliminarily going over the ordinances.
Mhm.
And several of our, planning board members and one of our town council members has a storage container, shipping container in their yard.
Okay.
And they had talked about putting in there to let them be approved with stipulations.
So for the existing ones right now, was that something that y'all were considering
Leaving?
just allowing as like a legal non-conforming use, but
Yes,
any new ones would have to go through the zoning process?
yes, I think so. I mean, I don't know what.
Yeah, I know that the non-conforming uses section is one section that we kind of worked a little bit more in depth on as far as recommended language that we've got in there right now. I think the dog kennel situation was the other one that we were talking about. I believe that we had decided last time, or y'all had decided that y'all were fine with allowing it just to continue as a non-conforming use since it's, I guess, been existing, even if there wasn't a formal application prior to.
Are you talking
They
about the
did
shipping
get a
container?
permit. They did get a permit, I found that.
They did? Okay.
Yes, they did get a permit. It
Are
was
you talking about the dog thing now?
the dog kennel,
Okay.
yes. I think what we had all discussed was you can't really grandfather in because it was done after, but she did get a permit. I found it. And I think what we're talking about, just allowing it to stay as is with the stipulation of if it ever shut down for a certain specific number of days,
Yeah.
it would not be allowed to restart, and any new ones would not be allowed to open up.
Yeah, most towns is either 90 or 180 days, I believe. So, but typically the 180 days, I think, is what I've seen more commonly. But
And she was there prior to the prohibition. So.
several sections also were revised. We had made some changes to the mobile home standards because there were some inconsistencies. I think they were brought up. I think you brought it up too. But and I tried to print it out, but my printer decided to take the morning off. I couldn't get anything to work. But so you have to bear with me on this small little screen, but I'll turn it around. I've got a example draft guide, which this one's based off of the town of Farmville, which we previously done. Just to give you an example of what you're going to be looking at when I send over the ordinances and then the map, I guess, within the next week. Just to recap, this was mentioned last time, but the way it's broken up is between 3 books. The legal provisions, just going over the overview of the government structure, the general ordinances, which go through the safety, health, and welfare of the town. And that's all broken up by general statutes as far as what ordinances go in general ordinances versus book 3, which is technical ordinances, just going through the orderly development or construction. So any really development related ordinances, you get into the zoning and everything like that. Skip one. And I already mentioned last time about the 160D and Senate Bill 300 update. But the annotated version is what I've been doing for the prior contracts we've been having the ordinance updates with. So each section, just to make things clear where it came from, if we kept it from the existing part of one of the ordinances chapters, I'll reference it if it's kept verbatim, where it came from, so you know it's not just thrown in there. And then for like the North Carolina General Statutes 160D update or Senate Bill 300 update. If it's like a new suggested chapter or something along those lines, I'll also have references in there for that. And it just kind of follows along the entire side of it. It would be a cleaned up copy afterwards, assuming y'all review the thing and there's no changes. But if there are changes, then that's fine as well. But just giving you an example of what that will look like, you're just going to see a lot of references to general statutes or to your existing ordinance if it's kept in there. So that's just the way that we've been doing it. And then after y'all have time to look through the whole thing and if y'all want to accept or reject any of our recommendations, y'all feel free to get up with me at your own time. We've all had a good amount of time to look through it. The other thing with your ordinance, and I don't have this in the PowerPoint, but we had talked about simplifying it or removing sections that are already defined or covered by state law. It's just like a redundancy. Without making this one messy, or without making the draft messy, I had started just making it a separate Word document where I've been, every time that I've noticed is something that's not really necessarily needed to be transferred into this revised ordinance. I've just been doing a running list of what sections and then why they're being removed as a recommendation of everything that we're trying to omit from carrying over into the new one. So you'll have two Word documents, the one that is the draft with all the annotated, the guideline for where everything came from, and then the second one for the omissions, and then the zoning map, which that will be, like I said, this week, so y'all can go ahead and start looking at that one. Other than that, should be finalizing it. We just changed part of the actual original template that we had as the base template within the last 2 weeks. We just went back and modified it. So now, whenever you try to add a new section, it automatically renumbers everything for you, which I had to do that just because every single town that I've been dealing with, it's just been a pain to constantly, whenever someone wanted to add a section, I just have to go back all the way up and keep changing the numbering. So I had to make it where it automatically does that. So you're a little bit luckier than the other ones that we've already completed. So it'd be a little bit easier to keep up to date and editing it. But other than that, yeah, we're finalizing it. I don't have too many other more clarifying questions unless y'all have anything else to add. You will just see my recommendations and everything within that. And I don't know if y'all would want me to just come back for the next, I guess it would be the July 14th meeting would be the next one. If y'all had time to review it between when I send it out next week and then come back for that meeting, or would y'all want to get up with us in the meantime? However y'all want to handle it, I'm good to go with the plan that y'all want to follow.
It's up to you guys. I want to make sure that you guys have plenty of time to go over it and study it, and that kind of stuff. So
Can we just
I don't wanna rush you.
email you and let you know?
How about the next month?
It's like August.
And then the final approval of it, since that would have to be the public hearing advertised for, I was thinking just to give y'all enough time to go through it and discuss it as well. If y'all want to have like notes ready for the next July 14th meeting, I'm happy to come back that date. That way everyone's had a chance to look through it. And then with whatever changes y'all want from that meeting, we can go forward with the advertising for, I guess it'd be the August, I guess.
Did they meet with the
meeting.
planning board?
They have not, but they do.
Say that again?
You said before that you would meet with the planning board.
Shouldn't he meet with planning board before we vote on anything?
Not necessarily. As he told you
Well,
last
that's-
time, we're not even required to have a planning board. And
Well, that's,
before you interrupt, planning board was given an opportunity to send suggestions in. They had lots of suggestions over the last year that they've been working on this, and only one bothered to send him suggestions. So frankly, the planning board has fallen down on the job, and we need to discuss a little further whether they continue to exist.
Speaking of the planning board, by the way, I did skip over one other question that I had. One other note was about the bylaws for, it mentioned ETJ members. What was the recommendation regarding changing that, or was that something that y'all wanted to have, the ETJ part taken out?
I don't think we were messing with that.
I thought it was something to do with the bylaws mentioning how you had to have a certain, part of the planning board from the ETJ and not within the town or something.
Yeah,
along those
the
lines.
way that our,
That's that one we
the way that our
revised.
ordinance creating the planning board is we have 3 town members and 2 ETJ members. Is the way that it's laid out.
So that's something y'all do want to retain, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as the state lets us keep it ETJ.
Did you do anything
As long as
about
we have
the
one.
animal ordinance? Or we had sent you messages about the animals?
I know I messed around with a lot of the stuff dealing with that. I think I got notes for that as well on my phone. I know, what part of it were you specifically mentioning right
Just
now?
kind of what your thoughts were on how to word the ordinance for the animals?
Are you talking about the restriction on animals?
Yes.
Yeah, that was one section that we looked at a lot of just other towns that we were working with, because we had just done a revised,
Go ahead.
I was just saying, we had just done a revised animal control ordinance that went through like way too much, just more in depth for a town that really wanted us to create a whole chapter for it. So we had just pulled some stuff from that. But if y'all have some more specific recommendations for that section, I'm happy to modify what I've already got.
Oh, we'll see it, I guess, when you send the revision, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And did you, see the note that I sent you about the one for the Memorial Wilmington Club chicken sales?
Yes, I did.
And fixing in a section or whatever that doesn't fall under the carnivals, festivals, and fairs?
Say that again?
The one that with temporary outdoor event, it was the carnival, festival, and fairs.
Oh, the inherent merchants.
31.12 was the ordinance number.
It kind of rings a bell. I'll look back at it just to make sure I'm not
But it was
forgetting.
also labeled as temporary outdoor event. We wanted you to be sure to define temporary outdoor event in the definitions. And also to add in a new ordinance that encompasses that chicken sale so that they would be in compliance with the ordinance. Because right now, with the parking and traffic when it's in there, they're not in compliance. Technically, they shouldn't even have it. And we wanted to be sure that the ordinance was adjusted so that they would be in compliance.
I think we had covered that within the inherent merchant section, or the, but I'll check back to make sure I include.
These are just some
specific
hot
about
points I know we needed to be sure was covered in the new ordinances. We did the kennel.
And it was, I think you just mentioned, it was just that one planning board that sent the recommendations.
Yes.
There's
I
nothing
think I
else that
sent you a copy of that,
You
didn't I?
haven't listed it in.
Yes. Let me see if there's anything else on the notes. 1 minute. And you looked at the one for the trailers. You said y'all did the manufactured homes, right?
Yeah, because there were some
Yeah.
inconsistencies, I believe, that we had to try to make,
And what about
Uniform.
the buffer yards? Did you just take that section out, or what did y'all decide to do with that section?
the buffer yards,
Uh-huh.
regarding,
Well, it's like, if you read the buffer yards restrictions, just like over here with the Royalton building where that house sits beside of it, they're supposed to technically have a buffer yard between them and the house, which they do not have. So there's a couple of areas where it's not, following the ordinance.
I honestly, I can't remember exactly what we had done for that section. What does that come from? Do you have the,
Hold on one second, I do have it written down.
I'm working on so many of these things, it's
I
hard to remember
understand,
exactly.
no, I understand.
I might have already done it.
You probably, it was in that list I sent you,
If it's in that list, I'm pretty sure I got it done. Either me or Seth, one of the
Okay.
two.
cause there was a lot that I had labeled that I thought they needed to be removed just simply because.
Yeah, my memory is so bad when it comes to these things, so
I
I have to look back.
understand, no, I understand.
It's one of those large sections that truthfully we could probably live without.
Kind of like the massage therapist establishments.
Yeah.
I think we could have done that in about 3 paragraphs instead of.
It does go on
11
and on.
pages.
That's why I ended up doing that separate Word document, just because there was so much that we ended up simplifying or either omitting, and it didn't want to just leave y'all in the blank of what was not included or transferred over.
Yeah, I tried to page all mine and tell you which one I was referencing in my stuff I sent you. The hot ones for me were the animals, my rule to build a temporary outdoor event needs to be defined in the definitions. And, other than that, and, storage containers.
And then the zoning, that was the other thing too, as far as omitting, so fewer than what was listed in the ordinance, because I think the ordinance had, without looking back at it, didn't have like a ton of zones.
Yes,
Oh, yeah.
yes, y'all
So
would modify,
we
take
had
some out
simplified
of it.
that, and with the zoning that we're not completely done with it, but we'll have it finished up this week, so that is probably the one thing that I might be most likely expecting y'all to come back at us with some comments about or potential changes, so we're kind of taking some liberty with that one, but other than that, yeah, I don't have too much else to discuss or note right now until I get the ordinance out to you guys. Other than trying to figure out the next date that we would come back and talk about it. And if y'all wanted to do, without rushing things, I was potentially thinking since I could send it out and then y'all have enough time to review for me to come back or Seth to come back for the July 14th meeting, because it's the second Monday. Unless we need to go through the planning board.
You don't want that July or August. I'll give you plenty of time.
Because then we would still have to come back after that anyway for the final approval with the public hearing, which would have to be the 2-week advertising.
Well, regardless of how you feel about the planning board and what they've done or not done, they're in place, I think they need to be met with
I agree.
before.
Say when.
That's just my opinion.
Say when.
And when I send this out, do you want me to just send it back to you?
Yeah, just email it to me, it'll be fine, I'll print it out for everybody and make sure they have a copy.
Are you talking about a joint town planning board meeting?
No,
And if y'all don't want to decide today, I'll just send it out to y'all and y'all can get back with me about whenever
Let's
y'all
do
want
it
to
that
come
way.
back.
That's the safest.
And then, other than that, did y'all have any other recommendations or things that y'all thought about since the prior meeting that y'all wanna note that needs to be updated or changed?
did you look at the town code? I'm sorry,
Yes, I
don't know
did.
what talking to you about the town code.
Yes, ma'am.
You saw the changes in that, it was not correct.
The changes in that were not correct?
The town code, they had errors in it.
Yeah,
We
yes,
pointed out
yes.
errors in it.
So if I understand you correctly, when we get this report, it's gonna kind of reference the change, make a reference to a change that's occurring. And if it's already covered by some state law, but all that's gonna be referenced in the margin, right? We'll kind of,
It's duplicated, you know, if
Yeah, so
you're gonna take it out or add.
the main draft document, they're gonna have the little side annotations that explain, if there's an addition
Change.
or recommendation. The other one for just the omissions and simplifications, that I just made a list in Word doc
Okay,
form
okay.
that I referenced, like the section
Yeah.
and then why it was removed.
Okay.
That one doesn't have any.
But it will be
recommendations.
noted,
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Alright.
And, we had just worked one town that we had recommended a whole array of things that we were recommending, they just removed because it was already covered by state laws, but they opted to keep them all in anyway. So, I mean, that's still up to y'all if y'all wanna, it's just a recommendation for getting rid of any redundancy that's,
Okay.
but, yep. Any other questions or input for it?
You gonna schedule a time for them to meet with the planning board?
So we just said, he's gonna send us the information and then we're gonna tell him when to do it.
Yeah, I already have that one meeting scheduled, Will. The planning board does. It's what, June,
Just late them. I don't know exactly.
let me see, hold on, what's the cut? I can tell you. June 30th, they're supposed to meet at 7 o'clock that night. So we should have the rough draft by the end of the night.
Yeah, you'll have that next week. It might be the end of next week, but the map you'll have this week and then the draft next week.
Would you like to come on the 30th? That night's at night, though, it's at 7 o'clock.
I have to check my calendar. I doubt I have anything on the 30th. I rarely have something that late in the month.
Sorry.
No, I prefer it. I mean, every single town that we deal with, they all like the first Monday or Tuesday of the month. So I just have a ton of like, I'm trying to figure out.
If you could do it on the 30th, they already have a meeting planned. To
Is that,
hopefully go over the rough drafts.
do they meet here as well?
Yes.
What time did you say it was?
7.
Forgive me if you just said it, but would that be a joint meeting?
No, it's just planning board.
Okay. So, for me sending out the map and the draft and everything, I guess they would just give the comments to the planning board as well that they have, and then the planning board will also provide input the 30th when I go for that meeting. And then
I
you're-
have to, when I get your rough draft, I'm supposed to make copies for the council and the planning board and make sure they get it, and I will try to send a letter with it and let them know they need to go through it and have it ready the 30th when they have the meeting. And if the council will get me theirs, I will try to send it all to you one time.
Okay. Yeah, and-
Or
and if it's nothing crazy, I guess, as far as the recommendations or changes or additions, I guess it would just be most likely a conditional approval by the planning board.
Yeah.
And then we go from there.
That'll be fine. Yeah, that's what I've got to do, is get a copy for everybody.
So that's gonna be a hard copy?
Yeah, that is what
You'll-
she's saying.
you'll
a
see.
hard
Yes,
copy.
yes, sir, I'm gonna print everybody off a
Yeah.
copy of his
Okay.
revisions, and I will make sure it gets into your hands. I plan on personally bringing it to you, putting it in your hand. I mean, that way it doesn't have to go to Raleigh and then come back,
Yeah.
and, you know, you'll have it sooner and you can go ahead and start the process of going through it.
I just had to do that for a planning board meeting. I was driving around people's houses just because it was later in the meeting was like coming up right next week, and I knew they weren't going to get it if I mailed it out. So I was driving around town, and it looks like June 30th, then just to meet the advertising requirement, assuming that the planning board approves it, possibly with some conditional changes. The date that we would be looking at, I guess, for the public hearing, if you want to do the public hearing on the same date as the approval, which would be the August meeting, it looks like.
That'll be 11th.
Because you wouldn't be able to make the July one, not if the planning board approves it on the 30th, it looks like. So that would be looks like the second Monday, which would be August 11th. So that seems like the timeline possibly. Alright. Well, if y'all have anything else to add, then I'll go ahead and finish up little revisions on it and I'll have it sent out to y'all.
Great.
And feel free to, between between now and the planning board, after I send it out, if y'all wanna go ahead and send any comments y'all have back or things that y'all noticed in there, or that y'all want updated or changed, I'll go ahead and make those before the planning board meeting.
Thank you much.
Appreciate your time.
Sir, thank you.
You don't feel good, don't mind.
Appreciate it.
I think more towns should do these like Monday morning meetings for their board. I
You're
like
probably
that.
used to nighttime meetings, don't you?
I'd have to sit around sometimes and wait.
I know Brenda Brown would like to have morning meetings.
They've got them on every other, on Wednesdays now.
Right, yeah, yeah, that's right, she said they had changed some stuff. Sheila, I need to sign this right here.
Yes, ma'am, please.
All right.
Later.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. Pretty sure I got one in here.
Alright, next on the agenda is North Carolina Capital Management. Sheila, what's the update on that?
This one for
Oh, this one's got it, I'm sorry.
I'm fine, wait a minute.
What?
I don't know what to do.
I can write
I'll
down.
follow you up and get your email.
I've got it in there,
Oh,
they
you
can give it to you.
Okay, cool. Alright, that's good enough, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, guys.
Take care, Josh, be careful getting home.
Okay, I talked to James Foster, who is the mayor of Castalia, and ever since he was elected mayor, they have worked with North Carolina Capital Management, and they are very happy with the results and all, and he said, so he highly recommended it. Sheila talked to Dylan, and the $161,000 CD comes out the 22nd. The $60,000 one is due the 24th of June. He's gonna cut a check for us when they come due. Notify Sheila, so. I appreciate Sheila taking care of that for me and checking with him and everything and all, but that's how it stands now.
Alright, moving on to our meeting calendar for 2025 and 26. This is one of those places, if you read your town code officially, we're still meeting on Tuesday night at 7:30 and all that good stuff. If we get that ordinance changed, we won't have to do this every year. Just basically copied the second Monday of every month at 9 a.m., just like what they do. Everybody. Well, at the pleasure of the council.
Make a motion, we get set.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the second Monday of the month, 9 a.m. for the duration of the fiscal year for our council meetings, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll continue that schedule. Next up is the lawn care bids.
I think I had two more come in. Yes, I said, believe it or not, just I think packets out.
How many total?
4. Nicholas Frazier sent in a bid, for $100 per month. That's paying him $100 just like we do Baker Lawn Care, $100 each month. Baker Lawn Care sent in their bid, they're going up to $120 a month. Horns Lawn Care sent in a bid. His is, general mowing, you would pay him $75 per week. Spring cleanup is one time, $75. Fall cleanup would be one time, $75. And if we need any other services, that would be $75 each visit. His total estimate for this season would be $4,050. Bobbitt's Landscaping sent in a bid, that's weekly mowing and fire ant control, and that would be $95 per month. That's the report that
You know off the top of your head when Baker's contract expires.
I have, the end of July. Oh, no, the end of June,
June.
excuse me, I'm sorry. The fiscal year ends June 30th. And I told everybody to send in a bid, we will let them know something before July 1st.
I'll make a motion, we stay with the Bakers. As far as I'm concerned, they've been doing an excellent job.
So they're going to 120?
Yes, but I would like to say something if I can. I know it's not my decision, but I'll say this. We pay them for now, we're paying them $100 a month, which is $1,200. Probably 3 months out of the year, they do nothing but pull in the parking lot and drive back out the driveway. When I asked them to just lower that pile of dirt that was sitting out there on the other side of that sign, they charged us an extra $20 just to lower the pile of dirt. I'm not a stickler, but when we've already paid them $300 or $400 and they didn't really have to do anything but drive out the driveway, I'm the type of person I would think maybe they could lower one little pile of dirt without charging us extra to have to do it. So I really think we need to go with Nick Frazier because we needed the flagpole rope changed here at the town office, and our fire department said they didn't have the equipment to help us change the rope. And we called Nick to see if Nick had a lift or anything he might could help us with to change the flag rope. And he was nice enough, when he rented one for another job, he remembered and he called me and asked me if we would like for him to come over, free of charge, I might add, to raise wheel up there so he could change the flagpole rope. Now to me, that seems like a very nice gesture that he made. So, I think we should go with Nick Frazier. He's local.
Well, he is local.
He's local. He's only charging us $100 a month.
Right.
And he's helped us out on several occasions where we needed it and he didn't charge us for it. But that's my opinion. And he's not gonna sub it out. He will be the one that's got the grass.
Right.
I don't have a problem with Nick. I do know he has a regular job and he would be doing this on the side. And he did sub us out the last time he did something for us. But nature of the beast.
I don't care who cuts it. Personally, I would probably say to go with Nick Frazier simply because he's local. whether he subs it out or not, you know, it doesn't make any difference, as long as you grasp it. But he must, pretty good price. So, that's just my take.
Well, that's kind of the way I
He
feel
doesn't do a
too,
good
sorry.
job.
But that's kind of the way I feel. Nick's local and, you know, we should support our local people, you know. That's just my opinion.
Is he gonna be able to do it when we want it done on Thursdays?
I don't know what day you plan on cutting, but I don't see if it has to be done on a Thursday, as long as he cuts it every week.
When you want it consistently done, I mean, that's what we've always had it done at.
I'll speak with him about it, see what day he can do it on.
I don't know what his work schedule is.
So we need a motion
Need a motion?
and a second.
I make a motion that we, get Nick Frazier for the.
You got a motion on the,
Yeah.
We gotta, yeah,
Okay. We don't have a
so we
second.
don't have a second for it.
So.
jobs for lack of saying.
So,
Make a motion that we employ Nick Frazier, to, do our lawn care, for this coming fiscal year.
And I say,
any further discussion? All in favor of hiring Nick Frazier for this year's lawn care, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the property and liability rates for the fiscal year. Actually, you've been talking to these folks.
Oh, I'm sorry. The workman's compensation did not change. It stayed at $750 for the year. And the coverage on the property and liability relatively remained the same. That's gonna be $2,998 for the net premium.
okay. So do we need a motion on that?
Yes, you have to put
Okay, I make a motion that we approve the insurance with this company.
So the property and liability and the workman compensation.
Right, yeah, all that.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the property and liability rates and the workers' compensation rates for the fiscal year, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. NCLM. What are those dues?
Those dues are gonna be $908 for the NCLM use this year. North Carolina League of Municipalities.
They do send out a whole lot of handy info.
Yeah.
Try to.
They do sometimes have a little bit of a lag time, but I know it takes time for news to happen and then somebody to sit down and write the article and then get it posted and all that other stuff, so. Not faulting for that.
And they are who our comp and property and liability insurance is
Right.
through, so
Aye.
we kinda have to pay that.
Make a motion that we approve payment of the NCLM dues.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the NCLM dues, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Walk Carolina AMC dues.
It's the amusement park to use for me.
What are those, Sheila?
It's just for the municipal clerk membership. For me, it's basically for me.
Make a motion, we approve NCAMC dues.
It's a mouthful.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the NCAMC dues for the fiscal year, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I did forget one thing on here, I'm sorry, I have to add it in right quick. But the Upper Coastal Plains dues are going to be $379.60 for the fiscal year. They've helped me a lot with the ARP stuff.
Yeah.
Miss Betsy's she's really good to me with that, so, I said, y'all, if you wanna continue to renew it with them, but they have been very helpful.
I make a motion, we continue with the, Upper Coastal Plain dues.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the Coastal Plain dues, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now, the insurance rates for life, AD&D, vision, and dental.
Okay, on y'all's life insurance, I'm sorry, but unless y'all want to seek trying to find individual policies for yourself,
Yeah.
you're probably gonna have to let that drop. I don't mind doing that for you, but I'm sure y'all all have your own life insurance already, I feel like you do. As far as the vision and the dental for me goes, I cannot do it through the NCLM anymore with the HIB group because you have to have at least 2 participating people to get it through them. So I priced out some dental and vision plans individually. The one plan that I looked at was Physician Mutual. That includes both the vision and the dental. That would be $65.45 a month, which would be an increased payout of $21.25 a month. Or I have another plan that was through Blue Cross and Blue Shield. And those two together would be $53.81 a month. And it would only be an increase in what the town pays out for $11.62. I personally like the Blue Cross and Blue Shield plans better, but it's up to y'all which one you want.
Well, it's cheaper though, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yep, it's only an $11.62 increase with Blue Cross and Blue
Is
Shield.
this on,
Her.
Dental and vision.
Dental and vision.
You're paying $39.20 now. But somehow or another, they gave me the life and accidental death and dismemberment, which I didn't usually have it. But when they switched over, somehow or another, it got on there. But that'll knock that off too, so. Because this is just for dental and vision. And I have the copies if you want to see them.
The motion that we go with Blue Cross Blue Shield.
I second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor of approving the posted rates for life, AD&D, vision, and dental, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Is that phone still acting up, Sheila?
No, sir, it's working. It was a spam call, so I answered.
Just making sure.
Was it good to go? Sorry. It's an action for you.
Sorry, we'll give it a second. spam calls, ain't Alright, moving on.
I did Evercoast, so I did put it on there, sorry.
Planning board appointment.
Is this to fill the vacancy or something?
Yes.
Yes.
What was the person's name?
Before we go there.
Wayne Manning, Wayne, no,
Kirby.
Kirby.
Kirby Key. It's spelled C-U-R-B-Y.
Well, I was gonna check with Joel Puckett, and he gave me an official note. That he appreciated it, but he felt like he was beyond the age of serving.
And I checked with LaRue Weaver, and she is willing and would like to serve and be honored, she said.
And I think she'd be a good one, because, I mean, she's had all this experience with building roads and stuff like that, so I think she would be. And she's a nice person. I mean, I know the words.
I'm gonna throw this out there. Y'all
Okay.
probably not gonna like what I throw out, but I'll throw it out anyway. Believe it or not, I never figured it out till we were discussing some things the other week, last time we got together with the planning board. But every member of the planning board is a Ruetan.
You know what?
And is a Ruetan. Every member of the planning board is a Momire Ruetan Club member. And I really think it needs to be broke down a little bit. I think it needs to have some other members beside people that are members of the Ruetan Club.
Well, what's the roads got to do with?
Well, it's not so much an issue with the road. It's an issue that we have to be more cautious about conflicts of interest. And just
Well, I don't think that's gonna come up. I mean, you in a
you
small
need to stop
community.
interrupting, Edward. No one interrupts you.
Excuse me.
So, when we're talking about conflicts of interest, our planning board also serves as our board of adjustment, which is a quasi judicial hearing, which is legally binding and is basically a miniature court. The conflicts of interest are different in a quasi judicial hearing than they are on the planning board. So, where having someone all within one organization is a problem, or could be a problem, is if at any time they want to do something that is a variation from ordinance, whether that be a new construction project, or whether that be a tornado hits the building, they have to go before the Board of Adjustment. Every single Board of Adjustment member right now would have to recuse themselves from that conversation. And would not be allowed to vote. Which then leaves everyone in a quandary. That's why having someone in an organization is problematic. You know, I personally, that's an oddball situation, right? What are the odds? But it can happen. And something that we're gonna talk about a little bit later is adherence to ordinance and law. And the fact that we don't have an option. The state has made it very clear that they're gonna start going after that kind of thing. And so, while you guys have been going over zoning, which is your job, I've been going over regulatory compliance, which is mine. And we've got work to do. So, to Sheila's point, having everyone as part of any organization, whether it be Rohinson's, whether it be Momar Baptist Church, whether it be Boy Scouts, whether it be whatever, it makes it more difficult for that organization to do something that they may possibly have to do down the road. What I've just handed out to you, I'm sorry for the lateness of you getting it, I literally just found our ordinance book a couple days ago. Speaking of regulatory compliance. This is the ordinance that creates the planning board. Spells out pretty clearly what their job is. Their powers and duties. Section 4 is interesting too, by the way. Before I dive into that one. Oh, where's my ordinance book?
Did you say all members of planning board was, Memar Road?
Yes.
No, it's not, because Ron Edwards is not
Ron is not.
Lord.
I was gonna say.
But they can't get it for. This is their job. 100%. That's the entirety of their job. They asked us to hire help, not to have somebody do it for them. And they've chosen not to help the people we've spent money to hire.
They hadn't met with them.
They were given the opportunity.
I'm well aware of that.
Send
I
suggestions.
still think it would have helped, if I may not be interrupted, to meet with them before you throw them under the bus. I mean, we do have them, they are in place.
We do. They're in place at the pleasure of the council. And like I said, the conversation just needs to be had. They're not performing their function. We've had, when was it, September, we had the closed session where we talked about them a little bit. This is not new.
Have you addressed them?
I've spoken to them multiple times.
In one of their meetings?
Yes.
But the subject at hand right now is replacing the one that's vacant. Which is a different topic than what we're on, what we live to.
It's all together. Because as I said, it raises the question whether we should be keeping a planning board, whether we should not, whether we should be looking at replacement, or whether we need to continue with what we've got and place some controls in place. There are options. That's not my job. That's yours. But since y'all are coming through this, I called your attention to section 4. members of the planning board shall serve as such without compensation. Members or employees of the planning board, when duly authorized by the planning board, may attend planning conferences or meetings of planning institutes and hearings upon pending planning legislation. The planning board may, by formal and affirmative vote, pay the reasonable travel expenses incidental to such attendance within the planning board's budget and with concurrence to the town council of the town of Mudmire. So this is the original ordinance creating our planning board. In budget year 1999, there was a line item added out of which they and we are paid. There was no ordinance put in place. It was merely a line item. Every check they and you have received, me included, has not been legal. Every one. And in fact, it's darn close to the textbook definition of embezzlement. There are towns that no longer exist over such things, and mayors and finance officers in prison. Until that changes, I will not sign another check. To us or to them.
How can we change it?
So, change which part?
The part that we're compensated for,
Okay.
duty.
We will put together an ordinance, and the only reason I don't have it ready for you today is I need Sheila to put the actual numbers on the ordinance. We can vote on that next month.
Okay.
Relatively easy fix.
We need to send that to these commissions here, right?
Yep.
Put it into the ordinance.
That is correct.
I thought Ashburn was.
And Edward, here is why this is being talked about now. I agree that LaRue has a lot of the qualifications that we're looking for to go onto the planning board. I have also seen over the years in a lot of different environments that when you put someone with the qualifications and surround them with folks that think it's acceptable or just standard practice to shirk their regular duties, that person is also pulled out. That's why it's being discussed now.
Well, due to the small community and limited the number of people we have, I don't see that what you brought up is an issue. And I make a motion we adopt, appoint, LaRue to the vacancy of Kirby County. And if you go get kicking everybody out that's a member of the Royalties because of that, then you're gonna really limit.
I didn't say anything about royalties. I explained what Sheila was
And
saying.
I'm just saying, you're really limiting your availability.
I think
Concur.
LaRue makes her own mind up. I don't think she would be coerced by other people.
I don't think
I
so.
think she's a very strong-willed woman and she has her own opinion.
Yeah.
But that's my recommendation. My motion.
Well, it seems to be, an issue beyond who's gonna be filling the spot coming
Well, you're talking about two different issues.
from the mayor, about the actual board and working together, so, you know, kinda talking about both of them. What does somebody like Castaic, I mean, just to pick another town, are they bigger than us, smaller than us? Do
I
they,
think they're smaller than us,
really?
I believe. What do you mean so far as the town planning board?
Yeah, I mean, just the plan, plan board.
I don't know, I never looked into it, to be honest, I could,
That's okay, I was just,
but, I really.
I just don't have a point of reference, I don't.
Yeah.
Don't really know.
I don't have anything against LaRue either, she's a good person. I'm not dogging her or saying it, I don't think she would be good, I agree that she would probably be good, but being that you only have, I didn't know Brian wasn't a Ruleton, but you only have one member that's not a member of Ruleton, like we were saying, if they ever had to make a decision, they're not gonna be able to do it because they can't get a quorum, because they don't have to recuse themselves. If it was something dealing with the rules, but we can let it ride, it might happen, it might not happen. Yeah. And I agree, we are a small town, but as Willis pointed out, they're getting more strict on towns doing what they're supposed to do and performing the way they're supposed to perform. And I love y'all, but I ain't going to jail for you.
I'm not either, I resigned before.
I ain't going to jail for none of you. I'm just saying. I think the world of you, but it ain't gonna happen.
No, I was just saying, it seems to me that if it's a functioning board, that we are kind of, not in control of, but actually, they kind of perform their duties at our request
Right,
and
yeah.
report
Yeah.
to us.
Yeah.
You know, that being said, I think we need to work toward a functional coexistence between the mayor, us, the board, and the planning board. I mean, I think it needs to be dealt with, whatever the issues are, so that we can have a working relationship. We don't have to have each other for a cup of tea, but that we'll be able to manage the business of the town without some type of conflict, personal conflict. So that's my desire, that
Right.
we would work toward that, whatever that
I agree with
entails.
that 100%.
Well, Will, you said this is compensation for the planning board. Is there ordinance that says we don't get paid either?
There's no ordinance saying we do.
Oh, okay.
At one time, we were the last community, municipality in the county that's not getting paid. And I was the last one to vote to get paid. 'Cause I wasn't doing it for the thing. And I don't know if it's been anybody incorporated in Nash County since us.
Yeah, I think they got it strict.
They do.
But there's a motion on the table.
ultimately, we all have jobs to do.
Right.
Everybody has their role. And everybody's gotta play their role. Or their role. It's that simple. We have second Edwards motion that we need to discuss further. Do we need to think on it? What do we need to do?
I don't have a reference point, I don't know the lady.
I mean, I know she'd be a good one, you know. And I don't know anybody else that's not a Ruleton member that would qualify. I mean, I don't know a lot of people in Monroe like y'all do. I mean, I know people, but I don't know them enough to know that they do a good job or whatever, so.
Because we are a small town, the state need. Let's say that family members could be.
Well, the same thing come up
Yeah.
with Brian being on it, and we was looking into, and it is legal, just like Jordan is on the planning
Yeah.
board, my daughter, and her son's on the planning board, so I mean, it happens more than not
It is.
in a small community, small town.
So would they make an exception? Like with Ruby or did, get a member of the Rules of Love? Well, everybody except Brian.
I kinda made a list of people that are not, that I think are not on the Royalty Club. Edward would probably know, because you're on the Royalty Club, ain't you? Ain't you
Do I now?
Royalty?
Yeah.
Aren't you a Royalty
Yeah.
too? I mean, Nick Frazier, I don't think he's a Royalty. Is he a Royalty? You said Joel was equivocally a no. LaRue's a Royalty. Roger Warren, which I know that's a stickler for
I
y'all.
don't think we want him on there, I'm sorry.
There's Miss Dorothy Johnson. She's a black lady. She lives down Young Road. I don't know if Kay Coggins and her husband, are they?
They
They are members,
They're Royalty?
both of
My neighbor Neil Colley, that's a retired police officer. He's not a Royalton. I just try to make a list. But those four, Neil Colley, Nick Frazier, Roger Warren, and Dorothy Johnson, none of those are Royalton members.
I don't think Miss Dorothy would be interested.
You don't think she would?
No, she's the one who lives down there, really, where the prison boy used to live, right? Is that one you're talking about? Maybe I'm thinking that's.
She owns the last house on the right-hand side, right before you get to that church where River Travis.
Yeah, where the prison boy used to live,
I don't know who used to
Tim
live there.
Bridget.
I don't know who used to live there.
I don't know that she'd be interested. She comes to the senior center.
Uh-huh.
She's in her 80s.
Yeah, she's an older lady.
I don't know that she'd be interested.
Well, I still think LaRue would be a good one, and I put no regards in that she's a Ruta member for this qualifications for this job. I just think she'd be,
Yeah,
Would be
Lorraine's
good
good.
at it.
She's a good person, yeah.
Second Edwards motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor of LaRue Weaver being appointed as town alternate to the planning board? Say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is our preliminary budget. Thought we talked about silencing devices.
Well, that's all I had to turn on with that.
Okay, are you ready for me to?
Oh, excuse me.
Fire away.
I had you all something typed out, but when I got this, I had to ditch that. I didn't have time to go through and change everything. So, the revenues, penalty property tax, we did not budget anything for 24-25, and we're not budgeting anything for 25-26. The town property tax, we budgeted $19,000 for 2024-2025, and we are budgeting $16,000 for 25-26. Part of that, the revaluation tax rate was lowered, plus we were separating, town property tax and vehicle tax. So that's why it's $3,000 different from, 2024-2025. Personal property tax, we budgeted $0. That was something I think was, moved from town property tax, right?
Yes, sir. We divided that out of the ad valorem too.
Okay. We made a separate line item. Okay, it was, $0 last year because it was somewhere else. And we budgeted $700, and, we have received $657.54 so far, this year. Vehicle tax, that was moved from the town property tax. We're budgeting $3,000, for that. Penalty on the town property tax and interest on the town property tax, we didn't budget anything. Franchise tax was $6,900 in 2024-2025, same for 25-26. That is based on projection from the league. Electricity sales tax is projected to increase 6.3% in fiscal year 25-26. Zoning fees, we did not budget anything. Miscellaneous town tax, that was changed from miscellaneous fees, did not budget anything. 1% sales tax distribution, we budgeted $85,000 in 2024-2025. So far this year, we've received $90,634. So, for 25-26, we're budgeted $93,000. The league projects sales tax growth of 2.8%, over 2024-25, or for 25-26. Sales tax refund, did not budget anything. The beer and wine, sales tax, we left that at $910, the same as 24-25. The distribution of beer and wine tax is typically distributed to municipalities by June. The projected change from April 2024 to March 2025 will decrease by approximately 3.2%. Fund balance appropriation, we budgeted $4,640 in 24-25, and we're budgeting $0 for that, for 25-26. Insurance employee share, did not budget anything for that. So the total revenues for budgeted in 24-25 was $116,450, and for 25-26 we're budgeting $120,510. Okay, expenditures, advertising, 24-25, we budgeted $500. We're budgeting the same for 25-26. Attorney fees, we budgeted $1,500 in 24-25. We're budgeting $2,000. 25-26, we increased it by $500. Increased to cover attorney review of the, ordinance. I can't read my writing.
The revisions. The revisions.
Right. Auditing fees, we budgeted 4,500 in 24-25, and 25-26, $4,800, and that's based on the quote from the auditor, so it's increasing $300. Bank charges, we didn't budget anything, for either, year. Beautification, that, was kind of pulled from another, we started out with saying 2,600, but stuff got moved around, so that changed to $500 for 24-25, and that's what we budgeted for 25-26. Building maintenance, $2,500 for 24-25, was left the same for 25-26. Building utilities, that got rearranged, to $1,700 for 24-25. We budgeted $3,000 for 25-26. That's to allow for electric bill increase. So that's a difference of $1,300. Cleaning services, we budgeted $1,020, same for 25-26. Community outreach, that kind of got moved around too, $3,000 for 24-25. We budgeted $5,000 for 25-26, so that increased $2,000. Office equipment and software, 24-25, $300, $800 for 25-26. That's for the new printer, accounting software, and repairs. Town code violations, we left at $500, same as 24-25. Zero for contribution, Moonmouth Fire Rescue, and donations, Moonmouth Bulletin Club. Election expense, we did not have election, 24-25, so that was zero. We budgeted $1,700 for 25-26. Martha and Richard, will have to run, in 2025 this year. Employee benefits, hospital insurance changed to medical insurance. That's $9,000, and that's Sheila's health insurance and dental insurance, and there was no increase. Her 457 employee contributions, $180, same as 24-25. And governing body, $10,500. That's the income for the mayor and the town council. It allows for 2 extra meetings for the planning board. Historical project, it kind of got moved around too, from $680 to $500, and we budgeted $500 for 25-26. And that is the frames and supplies is, I think that's down for it, for possibly 24-25. I assume that's what it's for. Insurance bond budget $4,300 for 24-25. The proposed budget for 25-26 is $3,450, $850 less. Took out workman's compensation and put it separate line item. Property and liability is $3,000, and the bond for Martha, the mayor, and the town clerk is $300, and I'm not sure what the $150 extra is for. Loan maintenance, budgeted $1,500 in 2024-25, and budgeted $1,500 for 25-26. Miscellaneous town office is the difference in revenues and other expenses. So that would be $47,000. It was $47,561, 24-25. It will be $7,045 for 25-26. Office supplies, that kind of got rearranged from $1,600 to $1,000, and the proposed budget for 25-26 is $2,000. It increased $1,000, and that's to cover supplies expenses. Planning and zoning, was zero for 24-25, $7,500 for 25-26, and, I will let the mayor explain that.
That's committee's fee.
Okay, and I have that written down, it is commission ordinance review. Postage, that got rearranged from $450 to $100, and we budgeted $100. And I got postage meter with a question mark, I'm not sure what that is.
All the pricing that I did is gonna be more expensive for us. We
Okay.
won't do enough to justify.
And printing is zero. Professional dues, budgeted 24-25, $2,000. We budgeted $1,500 and 25-26. That's a difference of $500. Upper Coastal Plain is $908. League $90, and then the $379.60 difference. I'm not sure.
That's the upper coastal plain. The first one you read was the NCLM, the second one was the municipal clerk, and the third one was the upper coastal plain.
Okay. Propane, that got reduced from 24-25 from $1,384 to $760, and we budgeted $760 for 25-26. And wages, I'll let the mayor explain that, or do you would need to skip that right now?
We'll skip it until a later date.
Okay.
We've placed money in the budget to give Sheila an increase. She won't be in the room when we're discussing
Right,
much said
right,
increases.
Okay. And the payroll tax expense, that kind of got rearranged for 24-25 to $2,100, and for the proposed budget, $4,300, which would be a $2,200 increase, and that's based on your salary, her salary. And of course, nothing for the federal withholding, Social Security, Medicare withholding, because that's in the payroll tax. Telephone was $2,400 for 24-25, and we budgeted $1,680, and that's due to, changing telephone companies and, getting a lower figure. Travel expense, was changed from 24-25 to $200, and we budgeted $200 for 25-26. Unemployment tax, $25 both years. And, workman's comp, was zero, and we made that separate, which was $750. And, the next figure is trash pickup, and I'll let Mayor talk about that.
Told you I've been digging back in history. Momar's been talking since 1993 about adding trash pickup, and was never able to put it in the budget. Well, we found a way. When GFL started doing our pickup here at the office, they offered to do a quote for the town. That's what the quote came back.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
So that's all I have.
Good Lord. $2,100 a month.
For everybody. You looking at the recycling or just the trash pickup?
Oh. The recycling is 20, good Lord. Oh, this is for everybody in Lamar.
Yes, yes.
Whole town.
The whole time.
excited.
If you notice the things that really jump out on the proposed budget, the miscellaneous line is way small compared to what it has been.
Right.
And the reason for that is, what we've been doing is doing budget amendments coming out of that miscellaneous line where we
Right,
didn't budget enough money.
right.
Well, now that we've been tracking it for a year using the software, we're able to actually budget the money where it should be appropriate. From an accounting standpoint, a large miscellaneous line and a bunch of amendments make you look shady. Whether you are or not, it makes you look that way. So that was the goal, was to get those two things in line. And I think this does that.
And what is this, again,
That is picked up at every house within town limits. Weekly.
where we're getting into the trash business?
The town is subbing out the trash business, yes.
Do you think it's needed?
I think Momar's been talking about it since 1993 and probably ought to fulfill something they've been talking about, basically.
But that would be
since the beginning.
mandatory for everybody.
No.
Yeah, because they don't take bulk items, I mean, and sometimes I
We
have
got
bulk
the trash
items.
dump right here that
Yeah.
most people just go to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some are not gonna want it. Some are gonna want it and keep their bulk permit. I'm one of those. I'm gonna want it and keep my bulk permit. But sometimes I just don't wanna go to the dump every week. And we have a bunch of residents that are older and don't necessarily need bulk. And it's a hassle for them to take their trash.
Well, it ain't just for bulk, it's for this house trash too.
It's a hassle for them to take their regular house trash. They don't move around like they used to. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you anecdotally, 2 days after we added that as a preliminary line in the budget, Allison was having breakfast with some ladies. And the ladies said, man, it would be nice if Walmart put that like that.
All right, are we gonna
And
charge?
Allison's like, well, that'd be a great idea.
Is each household gonna be charged?
They already paid for it in their taxes.
Okay.
That's
How much
why it's
is-
rolled in as a
can I
budget
ask?
item.
How much do you have to pay the county for the bulk items? I mean, how much do you,
How much do we as individuals pay?
yeah,
$150.
a year?
But this would be an additional.
They're not paying for it.
Town's paying.
The
for it.
residents-
The town's paying
for
for this because of the taxes that people pay.
You're providing a service for our citizens.
And no tax increase.
No tax increase. We're throwing what's the number, 23,000?
So the money's coming out of our budget though.
Yeah,
So 2,100, that's just everybody,
You know what
that's
line
if
item got
everybody
cut?
wants to do it. It's $25,200 per year.
that's what it is.
Wait.
The one that's a red flag anyway. We're reducing what we're putting into the little side funds.
Collection, one time a week, they're providing the containers, maybe two per what is 95 gallons?
It's the
One of
size of the
those
cart
out
that's
there.
sitting outside of the,
Okay,
Oh.
carton per month.
So they're gonna get,
You said it would reduce what, the money what, that we put
The
in?
money we're throwing in the CDs right now.
they have to do something separate.
if
Well,
you
we'd be
recycle.
losing that.
In And it may not even reduce that considering the amount of revenue.
They might as well, might as well box, you know, some of them give you that little winky box.
Do they have to have an X amount
Being at $6
of people sign up for
box.
it to do it? They do it for 10 people or 300.
I'm sure that there is a minimum, but we'll meet the minimum.
Well, is that gonna include the mobile home park now? Cause that now they're I think they're paying out of their rent.
I mean, there is a service through here that picks up trash anyway.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
They still do it on their own.
That's who it is.
In the past, there has been more than one.
So you're saying that they would potentially save those folks some
Yes,
money
it would.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Savings, oh, yeah, yeah.
in the mobile home?
Well, that's if Kurt reduces, which he probably ain't, reduces the lot rent to cover the price of it. Sorry, Kurt.
That's a conversation between them. But yes, that is ultimately what we're talking about too.
So nothing will really change for them other than,
That would change for Kurt, yeah. Don't quote me on that. Yes.
change for
Okay.
them.
Yeah, leave that.
Yeah, I didn't,
Any mobile home reference out. excuse me.
Well,
Yeah,
Hopefully he will
let's see that it
Reduce the
rent.
that service would be available to them too.
Or maybe not go up on it anymore.
Yeah.
I got you.
How many mobile homes are there roughly?
40 homes? So
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Sound.
Roughly 40. There's more than that.
We
looks like.
lose
And
for the
then,
money we've been putting into CDs.
Okay.
I think we'd be putting into their use.
Right,
that's,
And
the 40 is in the 140.
I expected that concern,
Yes,
obviously.
yes, that's every house in the town.
Remember last year, this time, we did a PowerPoint presentation where we talked about the necessity and the requirement for municipalities to account for every dollar.
mm-hmm,
And that municipalities at the end of the year could not legally turn a profit. We're not a business in that sense. So I did a little rough math, and you can actually go along with me on part of this if you pull out our year-to-date profit and loss statement.
What's this, right? Oh, Lord.
This is a mega easy piece of math. Bottom line, where it says net profit, $36,894. That's how many dollars? But since we're not dealing with the same number of dollars in the budget every year, let's do it by percentage. So divide that number by the total income number, 118 point whatever. I've already done that math for you. Our profit margin is 31.2% for this year. Over the last 22 years, Momeyer's profit margin averages 20.67%. By comparison, Disney makes 8%. Google makes 18%. The Fortune 500 average recently hit 13.1%, which was the fourth highest number on record. I cannot believe I'm saying this. We are not spending enough money.
That's why we get a good report every year from the CPA.
Nope, we get a good report every year from the CPA because we keep track of our checks. That's what she's looking at, no more, no less.
But they still give us a report on how we're doing.
Yeah, we're keeping up with our checks. They're not reporting on how we're spending
And
our
it's also
funds.
reported we're not overspending our budget.
No, that's not what it is. At all. So, and this is tying in a little bit to the regulatory compliance. Sorry, can't help it. As we discussed last year, we need to get more intentional on where every dollar's going. We're not going to sit here and have all of these conversations today, but probably next month, we will. Right now, we're laying out the monthly budget, or the annual budget.
Right.
We cannot continue to outperform the S&P 500 on profit margin. They will freaking shut us down. They actually care now. Nobody's been looking, which is why it didn't matter before. It matters. And it's not because we've been scrimping. Frankly, the incomes have skyrocketed. Our property tax is the lowest rate in the state. But our cut of the sales tax is just continuously skyrocketing. Like I said last year, we could cut property tax to nothing and not even notice it. I don't want to do that. I think that's a terrible idea, but we could.
I don't like it.
And the only reason it's a terrible idea is it would make it virtually impossible to go back if we ever had to. But while that is occurring, we need to show them we actually want to spend their money in a responsible way.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we're talking about the possibility of losing our ETJ and maybe welcoming people in, what was one of the arguments? What's in it for them?
Yeah.
Well, what's in it for the ones that are already here?
We control what comes and goes.
Do we know?
Oh,
That's why we incorporated to begin with.
But do we? Are we doing that job? Selectively.
Yeah, we control what comes in.
Selectively.
It's just your opinion.
Tell that to the judge.
I mean, we vote on it. I mean, whatever comes into the community, what don't, or does.
When you thumb through this book, if you do, you will see there's a lot in there that is very selectively enforced. Yeah. So that's the preliminary budget. The other piece of that, we talked last month. When we were talking about legislation, we were talking about paper towns, right? Did anybody go home and look that up? Find out what it means? If my inbox is any indication, our constituents did. By definition, trying to find the darn sheet. My notes here. There it is. I seem to recall the comment last month, well, why doesn't the state just go after the paper towns? Thank you. Straight from the bill that passed the House 99-3, so there is definite will to do it, in part review the statutory this is the bill, act authorizing the Legislative Research Commission to study paper towns. Review the statutory criteria for incorporation as provided in Part 2 of Article 20 of Chapter 120 of the General Statutes to determine what, if any, changes should be made to ensure that towns provide a sufficient level of services after being incorporated, including those proposed in the petition to incorporate, to justify continued incorporation. So, we get to go to Part 2 of Article 20 of Chapter 120 of North Carolina General Statutes, which reads in part, I won't read you the whole thing, talking about your petitions for incorporation. The petition must contain a statement that the proposed municipality will offer 4 of the following services no later than the first day of the 3rd fiscal year following the effective date of the incorporation: police protection, fire protection, solid waste collection or disposal, water distribution, street maintenance, street construction or right-of-way acquisition, street lighting, and zoning. In order to qualify for police protection, the proposed municipality must either provide police service or have services provided by contract with the county, which we do. Right?
Yeah.
Same thing with fire. So that's 2, awesome. Solid waste collection, nope, they pay for that themselves. Water distribution, high dollar, and then we gotta tie into old antiquated systems. I think we wanna do that one. Street maintenance, well, these are all state highways. We can't really do that. Street construction, that's growth, which we don't really want. Street lighting, why? It's a US highway. And zoning, so we're offering 3 out of 4. Kind of made the trash collection a no-brainer to me. Because none of the others make any sense for us.
When would the trash pickup start? FY 26?
Upon passage of the ordinance to allocate funds. Same thing we were talking about the pay thing. We have to have an ordinance. This is the preliminary budget. The final budget will only be approved after a public hearing, and then our following meeting is the earliest we can put together that contract.
So both of those things couldn't happen until after the public hearing, after the
Correct.
budget is adopted?
Correct.
So you guys don't get paid until then?
Oh, no, that one we can do.
Oh.
Yeah. No, the trash one would be a new thing that we don't have a line item in the budget for previously.
To me, it sounds like a good thing myself.
Thanks,
What do you think, Georgia?
Okay.
So we're gonna accept this as our preliminary budget and schedule our public hearing to finalize? We need a motion to that effect.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we, accept this as our preliminary and move ahead.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor of accepting the preliminary budget as presented, subject to public hearing and final vote, say aye.
Alright,
Any opposed? Motion carries. So we move on to scheduling said meeting. Sheila, you said,
I have to
in
run
order to
the,
have time to run the
yeah,
ad.
I have to run the ad for 2 weeks, so I went before.
Right.
The 30th, June 30th, that's putting it right in line, but I can't do that.
Right.
It would be June 30th, but it would just be
That's
for,
really close, isn't it?
that is for the, just approving the budget, it's nothing but a special meeting to, it will be relatively short. It would be yay, nay to the budget, and,
Pending public comment.
but June 30th is the date. So that I can run it for 2 solid weeks. If I can get it in the paper this week, is that possible, Nancy?
What's today? God,
Today's
Monday.
Monday.
Yeah, you should be able to.
Then it might could possibly be.
You need to call them quick though.
You see what I'm saying? It's probably got to be the 30th.
Yeah, cause we get everything laid out by Tuesday,
Yeah.
so, and that's pushing it.
That's why I was saying it probably would be best to just do it June 30th if everybody can
Right.
attend.
Yeah.
Like I said, it wouldn't be a long extended meeting. like
What time
that.
would the meeting be?
That's
Our
when you're
usual
planning,
time, I guess, 9
Oh,
o'clock.
okay.
isn't that when your planning board meeting is though?
That's
Public,
tonight.
public
Planning
hearing,
board meetings at night.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's,
public hearing, should we be doing that outside of business hours? So that working folks can be there?
yeah, I would think so.
Yes.
Well, you couldn't have it that same night then, cause you'd run
Well, we
into
could, if we made it at 5:30, 6 o'clock. It wouldn't be that long of a meeting, you think we could have it done by 7?
What time's the planning board start?
7.
Oh,
Where are we gonna have the meeting at?
Here, I guess.
The Roofing building gives us the opportunity for more people to show up. But
I don't know if the Root Building would be available, if that one is using it or not. I'd have to see if it's rented.
What night is that? Sheila? What day
That's a
is it?
Monday.
Monday.
so you're talking 5:30?
Probably, yeah, they can get off work at 5. Or 6 o'clock, which one?
I'm flexible.
Six
Which one would
goes
y'all
on.
prefer, 5:30, 6 o'clock?
Might, 6 o'clock might give more people time to get there, you know, if they get off. Especially if anybody works in Rockingham or somewhere, you know, out of town.
6 o'clock, try to see if the Root Club is available for that date. If not, I guess we'll have it here, or,
Yeah, we won't have a choice.
We call
That's
it
fine.
It's a special budget meeting and a public hearing?
we have to have the public. Alright, so June 30th, 6 o'clock. I'd like to let y'all know if it'll be at the Wilton Club or be here at the town office.
And call it paper quick, so you know.
We should probably make that official and do it with it. So, motion, second, vote.
So we need a motion about the, okay, I'll make a motion that we, that we have the meeting on, June 30th at 6 o'clock. The location to be determined.
Second.
All in favor of June 30th, 6 PM for our budget public hearing? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Last item under new business is the regulatory compliance update. As I sift through things, this may be something that ends up as a bottom line on occasion. Things we need to address and we need to pay attention to. I've already hit on several of them. But the state has made it very clear, the legislation that we talked about, and additional that we haven't talked about, that they're sending a very clear signal to towns, either be a town or go away. And be a town or go away. And we need to decide which one of those we're doing before they decide for us. All that money's sitting in the bank. If they decide for us, they get it. So they've got about 600,000 good reasons to shut us down. Let's not give them any more good reasons. So, I started with digging around looking for an ordinance book. Because we're required by law to have an ordinance book in the office for the public to view at any time. It's supposed to be every ordinance we've ever written until it's been codified, which means the things that are in town code theoretically were at one time an ordinance and then became an entire ordinance package. Once you've done that, you can then remove the ordinances from the ordinance book. About a week and a half there, I didn't think we had one. And so I started actually going back to the old meeting minutes to try to reconstruct. Which was fun, let me tell you. Did finally find it. And thank the Lord. But like I said, there are some definite missing pieces. For example, our compensation, planning board's compensation. All of that stuff was done as a budget line item, but just like the trash pickup, we've then gotta do an ordinance to write the checks, right? That was never done. Or if it was done, the copy was not retained, which is the same thing. That means it was never done. So, like I said, that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. The oversight and the working on this, that's y'all's job. That's the planning board's job. It's my job to make sure that what you come up with is enforced. But that's why I'm trying not to be specific in the book. Because that's not my job. That's your job.
Excuse me.
And that's per statute, and that's per our town code, that's what my job is. It's going to require us to have some tough conversations. And the way we've always done it is not gonna be an acceptable answer to those questions. Because the state regulators don't care how you've always done it. As a matter of fact, if how you've always done it is non-compliant, you're actually admitting non-compliance. So we're not doing that. So like I said, it's time to decide whether we're gonna continue to be a town or just shut it down before they're closed for us. Next month, we will be approving a code of conduct for all officials and employees that they will receive upon inauguration. There's been a couple written over the years. I didn't know there was till I happened to be in the minutes books digging. I should have received that on day one. Otherwise, how do I know whether I'm complying with it? We will also be discussing details about those capital funds that we need last year. Naming is only step one. There's 4 steps in that process. We need to do it. If we continue to operate as a paper dam, we may as well just hang it up and stop wasting our time. Edward, it was you that said last month, why don't they just target the paper towns?
Oh, what?
Why don't they just target the paper towns? Do you feel any different? Now that you know we live in one? not to put you on the spot. Each and every one of us swore an oath. It reads in part, I will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution and laws of said state. My former career, I worked really hard on code compliance and regulatory compliance. You've got somebody that knows how to dig and look. Thank God it's me doing it, not somebody wearing a badge. So when I find it, let's fix it and move forward. I'll be cautious how I say this so as not to sound too blunt or harsh. Once non-compliance is pointed out, waiting out my term and going back is not an option. Because then the DA has intent, which is usually the hardest thing to prove. Once you know and don't do it, you're intentionally breaking the law. So let's fix it, and let's fix it.
Right.
All right? That's all I've got for this month. Anybody else have anything?
I have one question.
Shoot.
So do they need to make a motion if they don't need to move forward with the trash pickup?
After we've allocated the funds in the budget. That'll be July meeting.
Just checking.
Yeah, we have to allocate the funds and then approve me being able to write the checks. And that's where the us pay and planning board pay. I'm writing a check without the statutory authority to do so.
Right.
That's why it's embezzlement. Legally speaking.
We need to fix that.
Yeah, so we'll have that written up for next month to get those dealt with.
I have one question. You wanna include that in June 30th?
What, the payment?
Payment.
We don't necessarily have to, but we can.
Well, I'm supposed to write their checks at the end of June.
Either way.
Do you want me to include it in the June 30th budget meeting? We're doing that.
Yeah, I'm lost too.
The wages, where we have to write the ordinance, because there's no ordinance for us to all get paid, for y'all to get paid,
Right,
or the planning board to get paid.
right,
Correct.
The end of the quarter is June 30th.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
So do you want me to include the ordinance for that in our meeting, budget meeting for June 30th? So that I can write everybody their checks?
It doesn't matter to me.
Me either.
Okay.
I mean, do whatever you have to, I mean,
If it's too much to handle it, okay.
yeah.
So you just wanna wait till the July meeting?
Yeah,
That's my
I
question.
would just say.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Works for me. I just wanted to clarify, so I didn't.
It's fine.
Do you have an update on the ETJ with as far as the state's concerned?
As of right now, we get to keep ours. The version that is still out there and available is a larger
Didn't
county.
you tell us that they had voted, or Lisa had voted,
Please
Over.
go for it.
she has not?
Tell that to the website.
Essentially what I looked, I reached out to her personally, and she had her assistant to, and I got it right here. And she said she had not voted. It had not come to the floor for a vote yet.
That's, the bill originated in the Senate. So you may be talking about a different bill number.
413, or,
I don't have it in front of me, so I don't remember off the top of my head, but yeah. The one that passed the Senate before the deadline of May 6th. So there's a drop dead date that if it doesn't pass one house, it doesn't, and go to the other house by that date, it won't be addressed during that session. And there is one bill that originated in the Senate that was a relinquished member of ETJ's. The reason I say that we're safe is it's currently in counties under 50,000. And that they'll be doing that in. And she is a yea vote on that bill. Like I said, I don't remember which number it is, I don't have it in front of me. But it's all on the NCLEG website.
I'll send y'all what they sent me.
Sure.
I just had a couple of things. One, as we're reading through the ordinances, I am personally having a hard time being able to generate questions or it triggering any question in my mind. I'll just say I'm struggling. I don't have enough background to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To create a issue or to realize that there is an issue. Now, when you talked about the massage, that went on and on, and I knew we didn't need all that word. But anyway, I would just say I am attempting to kind of plot through it and doing pretty good in my progression. At least the reading got more interesting at certain points, but you know, I'll just say my questions right now are very limited because I don't have anything, I don't have a background, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right.
Okay?
And it's not written in language that most of us speak, is it?
Right.
I'm having the same problem.
So it's not that I haven't, you know, tried to discern, but it's just, I don't have a lot of questions because I'm just kind of reading through it. And the other is not to stir anything, but I would just say that I appreciate you digging, doing your job. Appreciate you helping us to try to do that. And I would just say, with the planning board, I would like for that to be a working relationship. And if it does not, then I would ask that you would just let us know and that we could work toward having some type of them working, us working, them, you know, us functioning as we should. I don't want, there should be harmony and community, and we should function together, because ultimately we've got one purpose.
Right.
It's in town of Mona.
Right, exactly.
So please keep us abreast, of course.
I think the key to all of that is just have communication between all involved. Whether it be in person or, I just sent you what Lisa's assistant
Okay.
sent me.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second. All in favor of motion to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Because I